Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be at the center of a fairy tale wedding, only for it to shatter into a million pieces? Imagine this. You've just married the person of your dreams. The champagne is flowing, and then, in the blink of an eye, the bride vanishes. Not a note, not a trace, just gone. This isn't some far-fetched film plot. It's the baffling case that landed on the doorstep of the world's most famous consulting detective. A puzzle that would test even his legendary skills. So, settle in, because we're about to delve into the strange and mysterious affair of the Noble Bachelor. The story had, for a time, been the talk of the town. The marriage of Lord St. Simon and its bizarre, abrupt ending was on everyone's lips. At least in the posh circles, the poor groom moved in. But high society has a short memory. Fresher, juicier scandals soon came along, and the gossips quickly moved on from the 4-year-old drama. However, I have good reason to believe that the public never really got the full story. And since my friend, the one and only Sherlock Holmes, played such a crucial part in getting to the bottom of it, it feels wrong not to set the record straight. It all happened a few weeks before I was due to get married myself, back when I was still sharing the famous flat at Baker Street. He'd been out for an afternoon walk, and came home to find a rather push-looking letter waiting for him on the table. I'd been stuck indoors all day. The weather had turned nasty, with a proper autumn gale blowing and a miserable, persistent rain. That old bullet ID brought back from Afghanistan as a souvenir was making its presence felt in my leg, throbbing with a dull ache that kept me pinned to my armchair. With one leg propped up on another chair, I'd built a fortress of newspapers around myself until, frankly, I couldn't stomach another headline. I tossed them all aside and found myself just staring at the envelope on the table. A huge, fancy crest and monogram stamped on the back. I couldn't help but wonder which member of the nobility was writing to my friend. "That's a very fashionable-looking letter," I said as he walked in. "If I remember correctly, your post this morning was from a fishmonger and a tax collector." He smiled. "My correspondence certainly has a bit of variety, doesn't it? And funnily enough, the humbler the letter, the more interesting the case usually is. This one looks like one of those dreadful social invitations, the kind that forces a man to either be bored to tears or to tell a lie." He broke the seal, his eyes quickly scanning the page. "Oh, hang on," he said, his expression changing. "This might actually be interesting after all." "Not a social call then?" I asked. "No, distinctly professional," he replied, "and from a noble client, one of the highest in the land. In fact, my dear chap, congratulations, primera sa id. I assure you, Watson, and I mean this sincerely, the social standing of my client means far less to me than the puzzle he brings. It's just possible, though, that this case might have some real substance. You've been keeping up with the papers lately, haven't you?" I gestured grimly towards the mountain of newsprint in the corner. "It looks like it. Nothing much else to do." "Excellent. You'll be able to bring me up to speed. I only ever read the crime reports and the agony columns. The personal ads are always surprisingly insightful. But if you've been following recent events, you must have read about Lord St. Simon and his wedding." "Oh, yes," I said, with great interest. "Good. This letter is from him." I yelled it up. "I'll read it to you." And in return, you can sift through those papers and give me the rundown of anything that seems relevant. This is what he says. My dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, Lord Backwater informs me that I may place complete and utter trust in your judgment and discretion. I have therefore decided to call upon you regarding the deeply painful event connected to my wedding. A Mr. Lestrade of Scotland Yard is already on the case, but he assures me he has no objection to your cooperation, and in fact thinks it might be a help. I will call at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Should you have another engagement, I hope you will postpone it, as this matter is of the utmost importance. Yours faithfully, Robert St. Simon. Holmes folded the letter. It's dated from Grosvenor Mansions, written with a quill pen, and the noble lord has managed to get an ink smudge on the outside of his right little finger. He says, 4 o'clock. It's 3 now. He'll be here in an hour. That gives me just enough time, with your help, to get a clear picture, he continued. You sort through those papers and put the key bits in chronological order, while I find out who our client actually is. He pulled a thick, red-covered book from the shelf of reference volumes by the fireplace. Here we are, he said, sitting down and opening it on his knee. Lord Robert Walsingham de Vere St. Simon, second son of the Duke of Balmoral, born in 1846. He's 41. A bit mature to be getting married for the first time. He was a junior minister for the colonies once. His father, the Duke, was a former foreign secretary. An old, noble family, descended from the Tudors on his mother's side. Well, there's not much there to help us. I think I'll have to turn to you, Watson, for something a bit more solid. I shouldn't have much trouble, I said. The whole affair is very recent, and it struck me as incredibly peculiar. I was going to mention it to you, but I knew you were busy with that other case. You mean the little problem of the disappearing furniture van? That's all sorted now. It was obvious from the start, really. Now, please, give me the highlights from your newspaper collection. Right, I began. Here's the first mention I can find. It's from the Society column of the Morning Post a few weeks back. It says, a marriage has been arranged and will, if rumor is correct, take place very shortly between Lord Robert St. Simon, second son of the Duke of Balmoral, and Miss Hattie Doran, the only daughter of Aloysius Doran, Esquire, of San Francisco, California. Short and to the point, Holmes remarked, stretching his long legs out towards the fire. There was a bit more in one of the gossip papers that same week, I continued, finding the clipping. Ah, here it is. It seems our British bachelors need to be on their guard. One by one, the titles and estates of Great Britain are falling into the hands of our lovely cousins from across the Atlantic. The latest prize to be carried away by these charming invaders is Lord St. Simon, who, after 20 years of dodging Cupid's arrow, has announced his upcoming marriage to Miss Hattie Doran, the captivating daughter of a Californian millionaire. Miss Doran, whose stunning looks attracted a great deal of attention at the Westbury House Ball, is an only child, and it's rumored her dowry will be well over 6 figures, with even more to come. As it is an open secret that the Duke of Balmoral has had to sell off his art collection recently, and Lord St. Simon has no real property of his own. It's clear the Californian heiress isn't the only one gaining from this match. which we'll see. Her trade, her Republican status, for that of a British peeress. Anything else? Holmes asked with a yawn. Oh, plenty. Then there is another short piece in the Morning Post, saying the wedding would be a very quiet affair at St. George's, Hanover Square. Only half a dozen close friends invited, and afterwards they'd all go back to a house Mr. Aloysius Doran had rented in Lancaster Gate. 2 days later, there is a brief announcement that the wedding had taken place and the honeymoon would be spent at Lord Backwater's estate near Petersfield. Those are all the notices that appeared before the bride disappeared. Before the asterisk. What asterisk? Holmes asked, sitting up straight. The vanishing of the lady. When did she vanish? At the wedding breakfast, I said. Well now, he mused, this is a great deal more interesting than it first appeared. Quite dramatic. Really? Yes, I thought it was a bit out of the ordinary. Brides often get cold feet before the ceremony, and occasionally they do a runner during the honeymoon, but I can't recall one ever disappearing quite so promptly. Let me have the details, Holmes urged. I have to warn you, they're very sketchy. Perhaps we can fill in the blanks, he said, a familiar glint in his eye. Such as they are, they're all in this one article from yesterday's paper, I said, picking it up. It's headlined, Singular Occurrence at a Fashionable Wedding. It reads, the family of Lord St. Simon has been thrown into the deepest dismay by the strange and painful events surrounding his wedding. The ceremony took place yesterday morning, but only now has it been possible to confirm the bizarre rumors that have been circulating. Despite the family's attempts to keep the matter quiet, it has become such a topic of public conversation that there is no point in pretending it didn't happen. The ceremony at St. George's was a very private affair. The only people present were the bride's father, Mr. Aloysius Doran, the Duchess of Balmoral, Lord Backwater, a Mr. Eustace, and Lady Clara St. Simon, the groom's younger siblings, and a Lady Alicia Whittington. Afterwards, the party went to Mr. Doran's house at Lancaster Gate for breakfast. It seems there was some trouble caused by a woman whose name is not known, who tried to force her way into the house, claiming she had some business with Lord St. Simon. It was only after a rather ugly scene that she was removed by the staff. The bride, who had luckily already gone inside before this disturbance, sat down to breakfast with the others. A short while later, she complained of feeling unwell and went up to her room. When she didn't return for some time, her father went to check on her. He learned from her maid that she had only been in her room for a moment, just long enough to grab a long coat and a bonnet before hurrying out of the house. A footman said he saw a lady dressed like this leaving, but didn't think for a second it could be his mistress, assuming she was still with the wedding party. Upon discovering his daughter was gone, Mr. Doran and the groom immediately contacted the police. Energetic inquiries are being made, which will hopefully clear up this very strange business. As of late last night, however, there was no news of the missing lady's whereabouts. There are rumors of foul play, and it's said the police have arrested the woman who caused the earlier disturbance, believing that out of jealousy or some other motive, she may be involved in the bride's disappearance. And is that everything? Holmes asked. Just one more small thing in another paper. But it's a suggestive one. It says the woman who caused the scene has indeed been arrested. Apparently, she used to be a dancer at the Allegro Theatre and has known the groom for some years. There were no other details, and that's it. The whole case, as far as the public knows, is now in your hands. And an exceedingly interesting case it appears to be, Holmes said, rubbing his hands together. I wouldn't have missed this for the world. Just then, the doorbell rang, and as the clock is just past 4, I have no doubt that will be our noble client. Don't you dream of leaving Watson. I much prefer to have a witness, if only to keep my own memory in check. The door swung open, and our page boy announced, Lord Robert St. Simon. A gentleman entered the room. He had a pleasant, cultured face with a high nose and pale complexion. There was a touch of petulance about his mouth, but he had the steady, clear eyes of a man who was used to giving orders and being obeyed. His manner was brisk, yet he looked older than his years, with a slight stoop and a little bend in his knees as he walked. When he took off his very fashionable hat, his hair was graying at the sides and thin on top. His clothes were impeccable, almost excessively so. A high coat, a black frock coat, a white waistcoat, yellow gloves, and patent leather shoes. He came slowly into the room, his head turning from side to side, swinging a pair of gold-rimmed eyeglasses by their cord. Good day, Lord St. Simon, Holmes said, rising and bowing. Please, take the armchair. This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. Pull your chair a little closer to the fire, and we'll talk this over. A most painful matter for me, Mr. Holmes, as you can imagine, our visitor said. I have been cut to the quick. I understand you've handled several delicate cases of this sort before, though I doubt any were from my class of society. No, I am descending, Holmes said dryly. I beg your pardon. My last client of this nature was a king, Holmes replied. Oh, really? I had no idea. Which king? The king of Scandinavia. And what was his problem? Had he lost his wife? You will understand, Holmes said smoothly, that I offer my other clients the same complete secrecy I am promising to you. Of course. Quite right. My apologies. As for my own case, I'm ready to give you any information that might help you. Thank you. I have already read everything in the public papers. I assume the article about the bride's disappearance is accurate as far as it goes. Lord St. Simon glanced over it. Yes, it's correct. But it needs a great deal of filling in before anyone could possibly offer an opinion. I think the quickest way to the facts is for me to question you directly. Please, do so, he said. When did you first meet Miss Hattie Doran? In San Francisco? A year ago. You were traveling in the United States, yes? Did you get engaged then? No. But we were on friendly terms. I was amused by her company, and she by mine. Her father is very rich, I hear. He's said to be the richest man on the Pacific coast. And how did he make his money? In mining. He had nothing a few years ago. Then he struck gold, invested it, and his fortune just grew and grew. Now, what is your own impression of the young lady's, your wife's, character? The nobleman swung his glasses a little faster and stared into the fire. You see, Mr. Holmes, my wife was 20 before her father became a rich man. During that time, she ran wild in a mining camp, wandering through mountains and forests. Her education came more from nature than from a school. She is what we in England would call a tomboy. She has a very strong will, wild and free, not bound by any traditions. She's impetuous, volcanic. I was about to say, she's quick to make up her mind and fearless in acting on it. On the other hand, he gave a little cough. I would not have offered her the name I have the honor to bear if I did unbelieve her to be, at heart, a noble woman. I believe she is capable of heroic self-sacrifice, and that anything dishonorable would be utterly repugnant to her. Do you have a photograph of her? Holmes asked. I brought this. He opened a locket and showed us the face of a truly beautiful woman. It wasn't a photograph, but a miniature painted on ivory. The artist had perfectly captured her lustrous black hair, large dark eyes, an exquisite mouth. Holmes stared at it for a long, intense moment, then closed the locket and handed it back. The young lady came to London, then, and you renewed your acquaintance? Yes. Her father brought her over for the last London season. We met several times, became engaged, and now we are married. She brought, I understand, a considerable dowry, a fair dowry, nothing more than is usual in my family. And this dowry, of course, remains yours. Since the marriage was completed, I have made no inquiries on the subject. Very naturally not, said Holmes. Did you see Miss Doran the day before the wedding? Yes. Was she in good spirits? Never better. She was full of talk about all the things we would do in our future together. Indeed. That's very interesting. And on the morning of the wedding, she was as bright as could be, at least until after the ceremony. You noticed a change in her then? Well, to be truthful, that's when I saw the first sign I'd ever seen of a sharp temper in her. The incident was so trivial, it can't possibly have any bearing on the case. Please, tell me anyway, Holmes insisted. Oh, it's childish. As we were walking toward the vestry, she dropped her bouquet. We were passing the front pew, and it fell right into it. There was a moment's delay as the gentleman in the pew handed it back up to her. It didn't seem damaged at all. Yet when I mentioned it to her, she answered me quite abruptly, and in the carriage on the way home, she seemed absurdly agitated over such a tiny thing. Indeed, Holmes murmured. You say there was a gentleman in the pew. So some members of the public were there? Oh yes, it's impossible to keep them out when the church is open. This gentleman was not a friend of your wife's. No. I call him a gentleman out of courtesy. He was a rather common-looking person. I noticed him, but really, I think we're straying rather far from the point. Your wife said something about jumping a claim, Holmes asked suddenly. She was fond of using slang of that sort. I have no idea what she meant by it. American slang can be very expressive, Holmes said. And what did your wife do after she spoke to her maid? She walked into the breakfast room. On your arm? No, alone. She was always very independent in small matters like that. We had been seated for about 10 minutes when she rose hurriedly, muttered some apology, and left the room. She never came back. But the maid, Alice, says she went to her room, put a long coat on over her wedding dress, put on a bonnet, and went out. Quite so. And she was later seen walking into Hyde Park with a woman named Flora Miller, the woman who is now in custody, and who had already made a scene at Mr. Doran's house that morning. Yes, I would like a few details about this young lady. and your relationship with her. Lord St. Simon shrugged, raising his eyebrows. We had been on friendly terms for some years, I might say. A very friendly footing. She used to perform at the I have not treated her badly, and she has no real reason to complain about me. But you know what women can be like, Mr. Holmes. Flora was a dear little thing, but incredibly hot-headed and completely devoted to me. She wrote me some dreadful letters when she heard I was getting married. To be honest, the reason I kept the wedding so quiet was that I was afraid she might cause a scandal in the church. She turned up at Mr. Doran's door just after we got back from the ceremony. She tried to push her way in, shouting abusive things about my wife, even threatening her. But I had anticipated something like this, and I had a couple of private detectives there in plain clothes who soon escorted her away. She calmed down when she realized making a scene was pointless. Did your wife hear any of this? No. Thank goodness, she did not. And yet she was seen walking with this very same woman afterwards. Yes, that is what Mr. Lestrade of Scotland Yard finds so serious. He thinks Flora lured my wife out and laid some terrible trap for her. Well, it is a possible theory, Holmes said. You think so too? I did not say a probable one, but you yourself don't think it's likely? I don't think Flora would hurt a fly, the Lord replied. Still, jealousy can change a person's character in strange ways. Pray, what is your own theory as to what happened? Well, really, I came here to find a theory, not to offer one. I've given you all the facts, since you ask. However, I will say that it has occurred to me, perhaps the excitement of the whole affair, the realization of the immense social stride she had just made. Perhaps it caused some sort of nervous disturbance in my wife. In short, that she had a sudden mental breakdown. Holmes finished. Well, really, when I consider that she has turned her back, not just on me, but on a position that many women have aspired to without success, I can hardly explain it any other way. Certainly, that is also a conceivable hypothesis, Holmes said, with the faintest smile. And now, Lord St. Simon, I think I have nearly all the information I need. One last question. At the breakfast table, were you sitting in a way that you could see out of the window? Yes, we could see across the road and into the park. Quite so. Then I do not think I need to detain you any longer. I shall communicate with you should you be fortunate enough to solve this problem, our client said, getting to his feet. I have solved it, Holmes said calmly. I'm sorry, what was that? I said. I have solved it. Then where is my wife? That is a detail which I shall supply very shortly. Lord St. Simon shook his head. I'm afraid it will take wiser heads than yours or mine to figure this out, he remarked, and with a stately, old-fashioned bow, he left. It's very good of Lord St. Simon to put my head on the same level as his own, Sherlock Holmes said, laughing. I think I shall have a whiskey and soda and a cigar after all that questioning. I had already formed my conclusions about the case before our client even walked in the room. My dear Holmes, I exclaimed, I've come across several similar cases, though none quite so prompt as this one. My entire conversation with him just served to turn my guess into a certainty. Circumstantial evidence can be very convincing. You know, like when you find a trout in the milk, to use Thoreau's example. But I have heard everything you've heard, I protested, without, however, the knowledge of past cases, which helps me so much. There was a parallel case in Aberdeen some years back, and another one along very similar lines in Munich, the year after the Franco-Prussian War. It's one of those cases, but... Hello, here's Lestrade. Good afternoon, Lestrade, Holmes said. As the detective bustled in, you'll find a spare glass on the sideboard and cigars in the box. The official detective was dressed in a pea jacket and a thick scarf, which gave him a rather nautical look. He was carrying a black Gladstone bag. With a quick greeting, he sat down and lit the cigar Holmes offered him. "What's the matter then?" Holmes asked, a twinkle in his eye. "You look fed up." "I feel fed up. It's this blasted St. Simon marriage case. I can't make head nor tail of it." "Really?" "You surprise me," said Holmes. "Who ever heard of such a mixed-up affair? Every clue slips through my fingers. I've been working on it all day, and getting very wet in the process." "It seems," Holmes remarked, touching the sleeve of Lestrade's damp jacket. "Yes, I've been dragging the serpentine." "For heaven's sake, what for?" "In search of the body of Lady St. Simon." Sherlock Holmes leaned back in his chair and roared with laughter. "While you were at it, did you happen to drag the fountains in Trafalgar Square?" he asked. "Why?" "What do you mean?" "Because you have just as much chance of finding the lady in one as in the other." Lestrade shot an angry look at my friend. "I suppose you know all about it, then," he snarled. "Well, I've only just heard the facts, but my mind is made up." "Oh, indeed. Then you think the serpentine has nothing to do with it?" "I think it's very unlikely." "Then perhaps you will all be so kind as to explain how we found asterisk." "This asterisk in it." He opened his bag and tumbled a heap onto the floor. "A wedding dress of watered silk, a pair of white satin shoes, and a bride's wreath and veil, all discolored and soaking wet." "There," he said, placing a new wedding ring on top of the pile. "There's a little nut for you to crack, Master Holmes." "Oh, indeed," said my friend, blowing blue rings of smoke into the air. "You dragged these from the serpentine?" "No. They were found floating near the edge by a park keeper. They have been identified as her clothes, and it seemed to me that if the clothes were there, the body wouldn't be far off." "By that same brilliant logic," said Holmes, "every man's body is to be found near his wardrobe." "And what did you hope to achieve with this?" "Some evidence implicating Flora Miller in the disappearance." "I'm afraid you will find that very difficult." "Are you indeed?" cried Lestrade bitterly. "I'm afraid, Holmes, that you're not very practical with all your deductions and inferences. You've made 2 blunders in as many minutes. This dress asterisk does asterisk implicate Miss Flora Miller." "And how?" "In the dress there is a pocket. In the pocket is a card. In the card case is a note. And here is the note." He slapped it down on the table. "Listen to this. You will see me when all is ready. Come at once. FHM now. My theory all along has been that Lady St. Simon was lured away by Flora Miller, and that she and her accomplices were responsible for her disappearance. Here, signed with her initials, is the very note that was slipped into her hand to get her within their reach." "Very good, Lestrade. Very good," said Holmes. laughing. "You really are in fine form. Let me see it." He picked up the note, but as he turned it over, his attention was instantly gripped, and he gave a little cry of satisfaction. "This is indeed important," he said. "You think so?" Lestrade asked, triumphant. "Extremely. Primero so. I congratulate you warmly." Lestrade stood up, beaming with pride, and bent over to look. "Why?" he shrieked. "You're looking at the wrong side. On the contrary, this is the right side." "The right side? You're mad. Here is the note, written in pencil. On the other side is just a fragment of a hotel bill. It's of no interest at all. There is nothing in it." "I looked at it before," said Lestrade. October 4th. Rooms, 8 shillings. Breakfast, 2 shillings and sixpence. Cocktail, 1 shilling. Lunch, 2 shillings and sixpence. Glass of sherry, 8 pence. I see nothing in that. Very likely not. But it is most important, just as important as the note. Perhaps more so. I congratulate you. Again, I've wasted enough time here," Lestrade said, getting up. "I believe in hard work, not sitting by the fire spinning theories. Good day, Mr. Holmes. We'll see which of us gets to the bottom of this first." He gathered up the clothes, shoved them back in the bag, and made for the door. "Just one hint for you," Lestrade Holmes called out before his rival disappeared. "I will tell you the true solution. Lady St. Simon is a myth. There is not, and there never has been, any such person." Lestrade gave my companion a look of profound pity. Then he turned to me, tapped his forehead 3 times, shook his head solemnly, and hurried away. He had hardly shut the door when Holmes stood up and put on his overcoat. "There's something in what that fellow says about getting out and about," he remarked. "So I think, Watson, I must leave you to your papers for a little while." It was after 5 o'clock when Sherlock Holmes left me, but I didn't have time to be lonely. Within Hanover, a man from a caterer arrived with a very large, flat box. With the help of a young lad, he began to unpack it, and to my astonishment, a beautiful little cold supper began to appear on our humble mahogany table. There were a couple of cold woodcock, a pheasant, a pâté de foie gras pie, and a cluster of dusty old bottles. Having laid out these luxuries, my 2 visitors vanished like genies. With no more explanation than that, everything had been paid for and ordered to this address. Just before 9, Sherlock Holmes stepped briskly into the room. His face was set in a serious expression, but there was a light in his eyes that told me his trip had been successful. "Ah, they've laid the supper then," he said, rubbing his hands together. "You seem to be expecting company. They've set it for 5. "Yes, I fancy we may have some people dropping in," he said. "I'm surprised Lord St. Simon hasn't arrived already. I think I hear his step on the stairs now." It was indeed our visitor from the afternoon, who came bustling in, dangling his glasses more vigorously than ever, and with a very troubled look on his aristocratic face. "My messenger reached you then?" asked Holmes. "Yes, and I must confess, the contents of your note startled me beyond measure. Have you good authority for what you claim?" "The best possible," said Holmes. Lord St. Simon sank into a chair and passed a hand over his forehead. "What will the Duke say," he murmured, "when he hears that one of our family has been subjected to such a humiliation?" "It is purely an accident," Holmes responded. I cannot see any humiliation in it. Ah, you look at these things from a different point of view. I fail to see how anyone is to blame. I can hardly see how the lady could have acted otherwise, though her abrupt way of doing it was, without a doubt, regrettable. Wait, no mother. She had no one to advise her at such a moment. It was a slight, sir, a public slight. Lord Saint, Simon said, tapping his fingers on the table. You must make allowances for a poor girl, placed in such an unprecedented position. I will make no allowance. I am very angry indeed, and I have been shamefully used. I think I heard the bell, said Holmes. Yes, there are steps on the landing. If I cannot persuade you to take a more lenient view of the matter, Lord St. Simon, I have brought an advocate who may be more successful. He opened the door and showed in a lady and a gentleman. Lord St. Simon, he said, allow me to introduce you to Mr. and Mrs. Francis Hamilton. The lady, I believe, you have already met. At the sight of these newcomers, our client had sprung from his chair and stood stiffly erect, his eyes cast down, and one hand thrust into the breast of his coat, a perfect picture of wounded dignity. The lady had taken a quick step forward and held out her hand to him, but he refused to look at her. It was probably for the best for his resolve, because her pleading face was one that would be very hard to resist. You're very angry, Robert, she said, and I guess you have every right to be. Pray make no apologies to me, said Lord St. Simon bitterly. Oh, I know I've treated you real bad, and I should have spoken to you before I left. But I was all rattled. From the moment I saw Frank here again, I just didn't know what I was doing or saying. I'm only surprised I didn't fall down and faint right there at the altar. Perhaps, Mrs. Moulton, you would prefer my friend and I to leave the room while you explain, said Holmes. If I could give an opinion, remarked the strange gentleman. We've had just a little too much secrecy in this business already. For my part, I'd like all of Europe and America to hear the truth of it. He was a small, wiry, sunburnt man, clean-shaven, with a sharp face and an alert way about him. Then I'll tell our story right away, sighed the lady. Frank here and I met back in '84 in McQuire's camp near the Rockies, where a PA was working a claim. We got engaged, but then one day, Pa struck a rich vein and made a fortune, while poor Frank's claim ran dry. The richer Pa got, the poorer Frank was. In the end, Pa wouldn't hear of our engagement lasting any longer, and he took me away to San Francisco. Frank wouldn't give up though, so he followed me there and we'd meet without Pa knowing. He said he would go off and make his own fortune, and he wouldn't come back to claim me until he had as much money as PA. I promised I'd wait for him forever. Then he said, why don't we get married right now? Then I'll feel sure of you, and I won't claim to be your husband until I come back. Well, we talked it over, and he had it all arranged with a clergyman. So we just did it right there and then. Frank went off to seek his fortune, and I went back to PA. The next I heard, he was in Montana, then Arizona, then New Mexico. After that, a newspaper story came. A miners' camp had been attacked by Apache Indians, and there was Frank's name among the killed. I fainted, dead away. I was sick for months. Bah! Thought I was dying. A year went by with no word. so I never doubted Frank was really gone. Then Lord St. Simon came to San Francisco, and we came to London, and the marriage was arranged. Pa was so pleased, but I felt all along that no man on earth could ever take the place in my heart that belonged to my poor Frank. Still, if I had married Lord St. Simon, I would have done my duty by him. You can't command your love, but you can command your actions. I went to the altar with him, fully intending to be the best wife I could be. But you can imagine what I felt when, just as I reached the altar rails, I glanced back and saw Frank, standing there in the first pew, looking at me. I thought it was his ghost at first, but then I looked again, and there he was, with a question in his eyes, as if asking if I was happy or sad to see him. I don't know how I didn't collapse. I could hear the clergyman's words, like the buzzing of a bee. I didn't know what to do. Stop the service and make a scene in the church. I looked at him again, and he seemed to know what I was thinking, because he raised a finger to his lips, telling me to be still. Then I saw him scribble on a piece of paper. As I passed his pew on the way out, I dropped my bouquet, and when he handed it back to me, he slipped the note into my hand. It just asked me to join him when he gave me the signal. Of course, I never doubted for a second that my first duty was now to him. Primera told my mate, who'd known him in California. I told her to get a few things packed and my coat ready. I know I should have spoken to Lord St. Simon, but it was just too hard in front of his mother and all those important people. I decided to just run away and explain later. I hadn't been at the table 10 minutes when I saw Frank across the road. He beckoned, and I saw him walk into the park. I slipped out, put on my things, and followed him. Some woman came up and started talking to me about Lord St. Simon. Sounded like he had a few secrets of his own before marriage, too, but I managed to get away from her and caught up with Frank. We got in a cab and drove to some rooms he'd taken in Gordon Square. And that was my true wedding day. After all those years of waiting, I'd been a prisoner of the Apaches, Frank explained. I escaped, got to San Francisco, found out everyone thought I was dead and that she'd gone to England. I followed her here and finally found her on the very morning of her second wedding. I saw the announcement in the paper. We talked about what to do, Hetty continued. Frank wanted to be open about it all, but I was so ashamed. I just wanted to disappear. So Frank took my wedding clothes and got rid of them somewhere so I couldn't be traced. We were probably going to leave for Paris tomorrow, but then this kind gentleman, Mr. Holmes, found us this evening. Oh, I still can't figure out. Eso esse. Very clearly and kindly that I was wrong and Frank was right, and that we should make our position clear to everyone. He offered to give us a chance to talk to Lord St. Simon alone. So we came straight here. Now, Robert, you've heard it all. I am so sorry if I've caused you pain, and I hope you don't think too badly of me. Lord St. Simon had not relaxed his rigid posture for a second. He'd listened with a frowning brow and a tight lip. "Excuse me," he said, "but it is not my custom to discuss my most intimate personal affairs in public." "Then you won't forgive me? You won't shake hands before I go?" she asked. "Oh, certainly, if it would give you any pleasure." He held out his hand and coldly grasped hers. "I had hoped," Holmes suggested, "that you would join us all for a friendly supper. I think that is asking a little too much." his lordship responded. "I may be forced to accept these recent events, but I can hardly be expected to celebrate them. With your permission, I will now wish you all a very good night." He gave us all a sweeping bow and stalked out of the room. "Then I trust that you two will at least honor me with your company," said Sherlock Holmes. "It is always a joy to meet an American, Mr. Moulton. I am one of those who believe that the foolishness of a long-dead king will not prevent our children from one day being citizens of the same great, worldwide country." That case was a very interesting one, Holmes remarked after our visitors had left. "It shows how simple the explanation can be for something that at first seems completely baffling. Nothing could be more natural than the sequence of events the lady described, and yet nothing stranger than the conclusions drawn by Mr. Lestrade of Scotland Yard." "So you were not at fault at all, then?" I asked. "From the start, two facts were obvious to me," he explained. "One, that the lady had been perfectly willing to go through with the wedding. Two, that she had regretted it within minutes of coming home. Clearly, something had happened that morning to make her change her mind. What could it be? She hadn't spoken to anyone, as she'd been with the groom, so she must have seen someone, and if she had, it must be someone from America. Because she'd been in this country for such a short time, it was unlikely anyone here could have that much influence over her. So, by a process of elimination, we arrive at the idea that she saw an American. Who could this American be? And why would he have such power over her? It could be a lover, or it could be a husband. Given her unconventional upbringing, I knew she'd lived through some rough and strange times. I had figured all of this out before I even heard Lord St. Simon's story. When he told me about the man in the pew, the sudden change in the bright smooth, the transparent trick of dropping the bouquet to get a note, her turning to her trusted maid, and her significant mention of claim jumping, which in miners' slang means taking something another person has a prior right to, the whole situation became perfectly clear. She had gone off with a man, and that man was either a lover or a previous husband, with the odds strongly favoring the latter. "And how in the world did you find them?" I asked. It might have been difficult, but our friend Lestrade held the key in his hand without even knowing it. The initials on the note were important, of course, but even more valuable was the knowledge that her husband had, within the last week, stayed at one of the most exclusive hotels in London. How did you deduce that? By the prices. 8 shillings for a room and 8 pence for a glass of sherry points to one of the most expensive hotels in the city. There aren't many that charge those rates. At the second one, I tried in Northumberland Avenue. A quick look at the guest book showed that a Mr. Francis H. Moulton, an American gentleman, had checked out only the day before. Looking at the entries for his bill, I found the very same items that were on the scrap of paper Lestrade had found. His letters were to be forwarded to an address in Gordon Square, so that is where I went. And being fortunate enough to find the happy couple at home, I ventured to give them some fatherly advice, pointing out that it would be better for everyone if they made their position clear. I invited them to meet Lord St. Simon here, and as you see, they kept the appointment. But with no very good result, I remarked. His behavior certainly wasn't very gracious. "Ah, Watson," Holmes said, smiling. Perhaps you wouldn't be very gracious either, if, after all the trouble of courting and marrying, you found yourself instantly deprived of both a wife and a fortune. I think we can judge Lord St. Simon mercifully, and thank our lucky stars we are never likely to find ourselves in his position. Now, pull your chair up and hand me my violin. The only problem we have left to solve is how to get through these bleak autumn evenings. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your night. May you find deep peace and restful sleep. Wishing you the sweetest dreams. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.